the basis of being a loser because I am the solicitor who represented the private hire operators who tried to put the brakes on this whole thing. And sadly, as the consultation suggests, we weren't successful. So this is really where the consultation appeared from. This is why HMRC are all over this like a rat, and this is why this is on your tables at the moment. So we represent a group of private hire operators who, together with Visu, saw that Uber were taking Sefton to court to try and get a declaration to force operators to enter into a contract with passengers for the journey. And we intervened, which basically is legal speak for waded in, to try and stop it. We're still trying to stop it, but so far not so good. So in July 23, we got the judgment and effectively said what Uber had asked for, and why would Uber want to try and have a declaration that causes us all the headache of that? Apparently to keep the public safe, and this was never a bad case, but it was always likely to give us this headache. So we sleptwalked as an industry into this. The case was all about contracts, which is really sexy stuff that people really want to talk to me about at parties. But the consequence is effectively, as the judge said, the VAT consequences for those that wish to change their operating model. Funny enough, I'm not going to find many people here who wish to change, but you're going to be forced to, is effectively none of her problem. So it's all of your problems, but not the judges. And as you can see, who that impacted: passengers, operators, suppliers, dual licensed drivers, the operators primarily getting the real rough end of this. So what has happened since July 23? Well, before I was a loser, someone else was a loser in London, so that's why they dragged me down. But in London have already given us guidance through TfL as to what needs to change in your operating models. And actually everyone got a bit comfortable and thought, well, nobody's mentioning that, so it's probably not a big deal. And then in the rest of England and Wales, they went, actually, this looks like we should be charging that now. So we have some guidance from TfL, which, unless things change, will probably be similar across England and Wales. The appeal, first time I've ever been appealing, but there's an appeal which is due to be heard on July 24. Good news, we'll try and reverse it all, it'll all be fine. Don't relax just yet, because I have lost. So there is an appeal ongoing, it's just for the wording, but we're still fighting to try and prevent this huge change happening on the back of so-called safety and contractual rights. And then, of course, the government consultation, which was launched in April, and I think we got the message because on the 8th of August. So, as I mentioned, I act for a group of Merseyside operators, spearheaded by Delta. There's a second appellant, that's Visu. Those operators are fighting to try and prevent this case biting and causing you all this headache. So they're actually doing that on behalf of the industry to try and stop this in its tracks. It only relates to the wording of the declaration, and the primary point is my second point, which is don't wait for the outcome and then see if you need to get involved in the consultation, because the chances are the hearing's in July, but we'll wait a little while to get the outcome. Judges need holidays, it's a very long hot summer to be a judge, so you might not have the answer. And if you wait and see what the judges are going to say, by the time we get to August, you'll have missed the boat. So don't wait is the headline of that. It might not reverse all of the judgment, it might reverse some of the judgment. I think actually, should I ever lose a case, there should always be a government consultation. How dare they not agree with me? But it's possible that they may not agree with me again. Possible. And the government can still carry through much of the consultation. So if the outcome protects agency model, brilliant. But there's other work you're doing, which is account work. So the VAT stuff's still relevant. If you can drop that down to 5%, great. So it doesn't, it's not either or. The appeal is not necessarily going to be the end of the story. And on the end of the story, there's potential that it could appeal again. So Supreme Court, you'll probably all be aware of the Aslam case that went all the way to the Supreme Court. So the taxi industry is really familiar with things rolling on and on and on. So it might not actually get to the end in July. We tried to argue at High Court that this case is not a VAT case. Sadly, HMRC appear to have taken a different view, and what is clear from the consultation is this is launched primarily because of the Sefton case and the London version of it before that. So, we're already on that track. That review is coming. So the consultation makes clear that the government consider this does cause VAT to be paid. So we all got comfortable when the London result came out because nobody said, oh, by the way, you actually need to charge VAT. Now they do, so that's not going to change unless the outcome of the case changes. The consultation has some fundamental flaws in it. It's based on assumptions which I think many of you probably wouldn't recognise as being representative of the industry. One of those is actually about the operating model. I'm not going to go through all of them because there's so many issues with it, and that's one of the things that you guys can respond to as to whether or not this consultation is on the right footing. But effectively, if you have a model where you use drivers to provide journeys and they collect the fares and you charge either a commission or a settled or fixed fee, then your model's under threat as a result of this. Now, actually, this is one of the assumptions that's wrong because one of my clients don't charge a commission, and there's an assumption that all agencies must charge a commission on fares, and many of you won't. You'll charge a flat fee, and so that it's fundamentally wrong. Gary, you mentioned that HMRC are listening, and they are, but they've got some real kind of fundamental errors in their psyche. So we need to correct those through the consultation. So this model will have to change. It won't just cause that to be payable. It will also cause you to have terms and conditions. You can have them written or verbal with your passengers. It'll keep you on the hook for when things go wrong. So, the passenger misses a flight, who do they sue? They sue the operator. It's pretty uncomfortable stuff. I've got good news coming somewhere. So TfL have given us guidance on what it means in London. Chances are you'll get something similar across the regions. And effectively, you have to enter a contract with your passengers. You have to be on the hook for it. And when it comes to collecting a fare, you're going to have to add that onto it. This is a condition of the licence in London, and it will become a condition of your licences across England and Wales, incidentally not Scotland and Northern Ireland. So, it sounds a bit scaremongery. Never accuse a lawyer of being pessimistic, but the reality is that is going to be a condition of the licence. So if you don't do it, you won't get renewed licence. And this is sort of making the same point, but the government is committed to this. The idea that we were sort of able to go under the radar with the London case is great, but it's gone. The government is committed to reviewing that on fares, and when we get a change in government, that won't change. The consultation is off and running. And also, if you're the government and you've got the chance to get an extra 20% in your coffers, you're not going to miss that opportunity anytime soon. In the 1970s, there was a consultation amongst London private hire and hackney carriage operators and drivers. Then you got a questionnaire sent through and landed on your doorstep. We got 15% response rate to that. I mean, that was sticking it under someone's nose. frankly, then, given that they're making mistakes in the consultation, there needs to be a reaction and a response of the consultation needs to be better than 15%. You know, if Uber had a VAT bill of 650 million, hopefully you guys don't get a similar bill, but the revenue aren't going to give up that kind of cash easily. So the consultation is your chance to prevent yourself getting dragged along with that and having the hassle of that, because there's a misconception, of course, that VAT is a tax that you just collect and pay on. Well, that's true, but there's a whole lot of administration to get to that point. It's expensive, time-consuming, and hassle. So if you think the consultation stinks, wait till you have to do your VAT returns. I mentioned there that VAT returns are difficult and expensive, and that operators and drivers can lose their license if they don't comply. It's a license condition in London. It will be in England and Wales, I suspect, unless we can change things in the court. You probably want to update terms on your website. I mentioned that lawyers aren't expensive. Didn't put that in there, did I? But you would need terms and conditions because you need to limit everything down. And when the worst thing happens, HMRC do make companies insolvent for not paying their VAT. So it really is quite catastrophic. Not a great news story. So the thing I wish for you to take away, rather than the boring illegal stuff, is that you can't really afford to ignore this. It's happening. It's affecting people. Quite frankly, your passengers should be responding to this, not just you. It's affecting everyone, and it's going to be a difficult time whilst we adjust what the outcome is. But that needs to be an informed opinion. To your point of everybody, HMRC are listening. If you're not responding, they're not listening to you and your model, and you should not expect that another operator responding or a trade body responding on your behalf is necessarily representing your views. You should all individually respond and try and prevent the hassle of having to collect 20% off your drivers every time they take a cash fare to pass on to HMRC to complete your VAT returns.
Obviously, this is a very, very detailed synopsis. The most time we've got today. Layla, thankfully, is on stand 50 as well with Jonathan and Gary at the conclusion of this. And I think we've got time for one question only. If anyone's got a question? No.
These are just the next steps.
I'm afraid we're behind time. We've got a 2 o'clock seminar.
That is the last one. Those are just things for you to take away. That's what you should be thinking about. I'd love to say that don't worry, we've got it all sorted. The appeal will go swimmingly. Don't wait for that. Do those things there.
Can I thank Layla for her time?